What's good, Kansas City? Thanks for tuning in to the Benchwarmers. I'm your host/producer, Brad Ross. And always sitting by my side, the one, the only, Ian Yoakum.
Yeah, threw me a curveball there, huh? No.
Yeah.
But, I'm excited to be back after 2 weeks from doing our last show. Of course, Memorial Day was last Monday, so studio wasn't open, but we are back in business.
I didn't know that until I got to the building and
texted me and said
pulled on
it's
the
closed.
door.
I'm glad I didn't leave my house yet, but yeah. So, but we are back, and don't worry, we don't have any off days coming up in the near future, anyway.
Not that I know of, but
Not that we know of. You never know.
who knows? Maybe the janitor will go on vacation 1 week and forget to unlock the building.
That
So,
could happen. That seems reasonable.
Yeah, I don't have any ID or key that allows me to open the building up. But hopefully that doesn't happen. So thanks for tuning into the Benchwarmers. Don't forget, if you have any questions you'd like to text us, 816-287-0090. It's 816-287-0090. And, it's the first Monday of the month, and what we're going to do on every first Monday of the month is our own power rankings with the Royals players. So I know we did it earlier, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. Well, we're going to start that trend. So this month, today, we're starting it. And then next month, on the first Monday, we'll do it again.
Alrighty, so let's begin. Let's start with our number fives and our top 5 Royals players. My number 5, I'm going to go with Jorge Bonifacio. Am I saying that right?
It's
Bonifacio?
Bonifacio.
Bonifacio, that's right. I know there was like some sort of pronunciation change because that's how his family, wanted.
It's how he wants it.
He wants it
Yeah.
to be said because that's how it's pronounced. So Jorge Bonifacio at number 5. I almost put him even higher, but I mean he is just in his first year with the Royals, but I just feel like he just seems so reliable at the plate. He already has 7 home runs in a short time up here in the majors. I just think he looks really good, and he has stepped in and done a really fantastic job for a struggling offense. So he's my number 5 player.
Yeah, that's hard to argue against. However, I did not have him in my top 5. He is in that 6/7 spot, but he's not quite there for me. Number 5, I have Mike Moustakas. He was up higher on my list last 2 weeks ago. But the reason I have him dropping a little bit, not because of the power. The power's still there, and it's great. But it's because of his average, and it hasn't really changed, which could be a good and a negative, but it's, I think, 255. Nothing to brag about. If it went a little higher, I'd be happy. But it's 255. But, like I said, power's still there. That's why he's still in my top 5.
Yeah, I just put Bonifacio ahead of him just because... Just the numbers, I feel like there's enough of a disparity to warrant Bonifacio being ahead of Moustakas at this point in time.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to argue against. So, coming in at number 4, Mike Minor. I had him, again, I think at number 4 last week, and he's still in my top 5, mainly because he got Player of the Month. That just shows how consistent he's been. I know there's been maybe a game or 2 where things got a little out of hand, but... look at one person in that bullpen and point out somebody who has done better. You can't. That's why he's number 4.
Yeah, I didn't have Minor in my top 5. I almost did, but I actually have Lorenzo Cain at number 4. I feel like he's kind of trailed off a little bit, but he's still one of the best hitters in the lineup, one of the more reliable ones. Great defense as always. I mean, he's one of the best defensive center fielders out there. So I have to have him in my top 5. So I have him at number 4. I like Mike Minor though. Again, he shuts it down. Usually, when he goes in there, I do remember one game this. I don't remember if it was this past week or the week before. Oh, it was that game against Detroit. He came in and he just got lit up, and it was really disappointing. But it's going to happen every once in a while, especially to a young guy like Mike Minor. So, can't fault him too much. He's still a very solid guy, but I don't have him in my top 5 just yet.
All right, and that brings us to the third spot. Once again, this is another hot guy. He did not start the year up on the team, but because he's been so hot and because he's been so reliable, Whit Merrifield, he is there. I know 2 weeks ago I was trying not to be biased towards the hot players, but he's just been so hot right now. I have to put him up there. 19-game hitting streak. It's incredible. He's there, number 3.
Yeah, and I like how he said that he feels like the reporters asked him if he feels any pressure right now with the hitting streak going on, and he's like, no, I feel like it's kind of the opposite, and that just makes me feel like he's just going to keep rolling. I also have Merrifield at number 3, by the way. Forgot to mention that.
All right.
Yeah, so we're seeing eye to eye on that one. If this was his first year, I probably would not have put him this high. But now that he's proven 2 consecutive years that he can get really hot over a long period of time, I feel like he's slowly turning into one of the best players and best hitters on this team. And that makes me excited for the future with Whit Merrifield.
And think about this. Let's say they sell Moustakas, they sell Hosmer, Vargas, all the big players go. Well, guess what? Merrifield's going to be one of those big names around Kansas City. I've been working as a camera operator the last couple games for the Royals, and
yeah, I never mentioned that, by the way.
No, well,
pretty cool gig there.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Well, anyways, I'm trying to think. It's either Whit Merrifield or Salvador Perez with the most signs being held up that are being made and taken to the game. He's a very popular guy, and heck, if he is this good as a second baseman, especially with the power that's just coming out of nowhere, then maybe you have something for next year, even if you do decide to sell.
Yeah,
at least a second base.
Right. No, I think there's definitely a future there, and usually you don't see second basemen producing these kind of numbers, and like you said, the power numbers. So yeah, I got him at number 3 as well. Now, moving up to number 2, I have Eric Hosmer.
Hot take.
Yeah, I guess that is a hot take.
No, it's not. I have him number 2
also.
also.
Very hot take. No, but really. It would have been a hot take if it was earlier in the season, but I mean, he's hitting 305. He has 5 home runs on the year, which, by the way, is less than Merrifield at number 6. But if you're arguing Merrifield versus Hosmer, and I kind of went back and forth between those two at 2 and 3, but I decided to put Hosmer ahead of Merrifield just because he's more established. He's Eric Hosmer. He's been doing it longer. He's 2 points below Merrifield in batting average, but I mean, let's give, I guess, Merrifield a little bit more time before we put him ahead of Hosmer. Right now, I would say that he's a better hitter at this very moment than Hosmer. The numbers show it, but I still have to put Hosmer at 2, especially with his defensive ability at first.
Yeah, and there's a reason why he won Player of the Month last month and in May. I mean, his average is now 305, yeah, which I looked up. It's third most in Royals history. The only 2 people here behind we were discussing earlier is Alex Gordon, which is kind of surprising with 13, and George Brett also tied with 13. But he's got a 367. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. He leads the team with on-base percentage, 367, and he's also leading the team in slugging percentage. He's on fire right now, and it's hard to argue that I guess besides Whit Merrifield and his streak that he has going right now, that he's not one of the hottest players on this team. A couple weeks ago, I told him, I didn't tell him directly, I told you, not Hosmer, but I said he's right there at number 6, and he needs to show me that he can continue being reliable. Well, he's done that, so he's my number 2. Number 1 hasn't changed for me. Has it changed for you?
Nope.
Yeah, it's still Vargas. I think his ERA has actually doubled since last time we did this. It went from a 1 to a 2, 2.08.
And yet it's 2.08. That's still like a Cy Young number. Like that's
it's incredible. And I think he had 2 kind of rough outings this season where he is allowed, like 4-ish runs, but that means every other game he's doing 0 and 1 run, which is amazing. And especially this team, they're 19th in the league right now with a 4.31 ERA. Where would it be without Vargas?
I know he's been.
I bet it would
MVP.
be last.
Yeah, he's been the Royals MVP so far. Hopefully he can sustain it because he's been great. His most recent outing against Detroit, right? It was against Detroit. I'm not tripping here.
Yeah, it was Detroit.
Okay. Yeah, he had a complete game. He didn't get a lot of strikeouts in that game, but he was still he retired guys left and right. I think he had 3 strikeouts in that game, if I'm not mistaken, which is rare for a complete game shutout, only having 3 strikeouts. So
that's the argument that people are using. He's the kind of pitcher who goes out there, tries to get the ball on the ground. He isn't trying to throw 100 miles an hour. He's not trying to strike people out. He's trying to just get them out in a smart way. And that's the argument you could use for wanting to keep him in Kansas City, even though this team is going down the drain and time's running out to, get it together. That's why some people still want him. Like you want him.
Yeah. I know. If the Royals are going to be sellers this year, I mean, we had to talk about something like that at this point when the Royals are on, kind of a winning, not streak, but they've been winning. Vargas is definitely a guy I want to keep around, and with not getting a lot of strikeouts, it is definitely something pitchers try to do, and they're successful in that, is force ground balls, force fly balls. I'll take that. I mean, just as much as I would take some strikeout artists, some guys like Steven Strasburg, guys that get more of the attention on Sports Center or whatever because they just strike out guys left and right. I'll take Vargas any day.
Yeah, I mean, the one true stat to look at, I guess it's still not that true. There might be something out there that's more accurate, but the ERA, for the most part, is pretty accurate at showing how reliable a guy is. Not the strikeouts or the, something crazy like the strikeout to walk ratio. It's the ERA. If you can look at that and you're going to get that year in and year out, then yeah, it might be worth signing. I'm not sure, though, on myself if they should trade or not. Trade him if they do decide to trade everyone else, but that's for another day.
Right.
We might not ever have to talk about that.
Hopefully not.
But anyways, that's our top 5 each of us. Now let's talk about the bottom 3. That's the 3 players that we wish we could, send on a bus to Cleveland and have them play for the Indians. These are guys we do not want anywhere near the team. Unfortunately, they're all on contracts, at least for me. My first guy on the list is Jason Hamill.
Is that number 1 or number 3?
It would be the third worst.
The third worst, okay.
The third coldest guy.
I see.
And unfortunately, he has a 5.93 ERA. And it sucks to think about it this way, but this is basically Ventura's replacement. This is the guy that they went out and said, this season's not done for. We're going to get a pitcher, and we're going to try our best. Well, this is our guy, and he's been awful. He's been crappy. And I like the guy. He was excited to play in Kansas City. He was excited to eat barbecue and,
Yeah. No, he embraced this town, immediately. I think that's what made a lot of people like him. And I liked him. He immediately just became part of the team in the city, and he was excited to be here, like you said. But, yeah, the numbers are bad, and he's bad right now. There's still a little bit of time to turn it around, but right now, yeah, it doesn't look very good for Hamill. In my number 3 spot, I have Cheslor Cuthbert. Just because, I mean, I don't know, he still struggles when he's in the game, which isn't a lot. But yeah, he's I don't know. Last year he was a lot better when he was playing every day, but just something about this year, maybe he's getting too much rest. He's just rusty. He's hitting 182 and 66 at bats. I feel like that's enough of a sample size to determine that he's not on it this year. So, I mean, you never know. If Moustakas is gone, then maybe Cuthbert steps in next year and gets his chance to get back to what he used to be, and then he'll be far from this bottom 3 list.
Yeah, if you definitely think this season's going to be a bust and they start selling everything, you're going to start looking at this new young core. And that would consist of, Merrifield, Bonifacio.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I get that right. Bonifacio, and then, maybe Cuthbert. Maybe not. But it's certainly not promising like the other two when you see this guy, kind of struggling when he gets his chance. And heck, that might even affect Moustakis in the long run. Maybe Nedio says, okay, maybe I shouldn't rest him as much because who am I going to put out there that's not going to be that reliable? Which is a shame because you did kind of rely on a good depth on this team before the season started. Number 2 for me, he was in my bottom 3. He's still in my bottom 3. The only difference between 2 weeks ago and today is I have a bobblehead now of him, and that's right. Alex Gordon. His batting average, 173. I think it's slightly declined since the last 2 weeks, and I know he had that 3 or 4 game hitting streak in that time period, but, I mean, he just, I don't know, his bat is not there. Once again, he's great defensively, but that only does so much when you're hitting 173. It's a guy you can't rely on when he goes to the plate. It's a shame. I'm very disappointed, but there's not much to say.
Yeah, I almost put Gordon as the 3rd worst, but I decided to put Cuthbert as worse than him just because their batting numbers are almost identical, with Gordon having better defense, I feel, than Cuthbert. So that pushed Gordon up above Cuthbert just a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, Gordon's at the plate, he's just not getting better, and that's very troubling.
The difference for me would be the expectations, I guess, in that.
Yeah.
Because I take expectations a little bit into my criteria for these standings. And, I mean, Gordon is Gordon. There's a reason we gave him, is it $72 million?
I think so.
Yeah, $72 million. There's a
4-year
reason.
contract.
There's a reason we gave him that, and it's been awful.
Yeah, he has 2 more years after this. Just think about that. If he's hitting this poorly right now, what is he going to do in 2019?
When he starts getting old.
Yeah.
Older.
And he'll be getting even worse at the plate. It's almost like, it's like, would it even be worth putting him in left field at that point?
How about this? This is just hypothetical. Let's make a hypothetical bet. Let's say $20. Do you would you take the bet with let me rephrase this. Let's make a $20 bet hypothetically. Would you say that Alex Gordon goes down to the minors sometime during his contract, or he stays up?
I would say, assuming he has, the options available. I don't know how minor league options work exactly, if they reset after a new contract or after each year. But I would say, yeah, just assuming that he could get sent down, I think it's a possibility. I really do.
I think
which is crazy to think
with the
at this
contract.
point.
I think with the contract, it's somehow, I don't know exactly either. Maybe we should look that up later. But no, it's funny because it's like I would take the bet too, as in saying he would, because first it was a slow start to the new contract. He's nervous. Then it was it's a bad year. And now we're in the year 2. Now it's over a year. This slump is going over a year. At what point do you say, okay, something's very wrong? Oh, yeah, he's in a 3-year slump, but he'll bust out by that last year of his contract. Yeah. He'll get it together then.
I know.
And that's when we'll go all in. No. He's struggling.
He is. Anyways, number 2, I kind of started talking about Gordon. My second worst player is Chris Young. I know he's not really starting anymore. And that's kind of why he's earned this, reputation for just being an awful player at this point. You can't start a game and not give up 3-4 home runs and 6 or 7 runs in the game. I just have him as my number 2 worst player because he's still on the roster. So, As long as you're on the roster, and I think you're the second worst player on the team, then I'm putting you there. I like Chris Young as a person. He's a really nice guy. I mean, I don't know him personally, but he seems like he's a really nice guy anyway. So I hate to see him struggle, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, over the last couple games that I've been lucky enough to work at for the Royals, I mean, I'm over by that bullpen, and he's always smiling. He's just a guy who's a big smile. So you know he's enjoying it. Unfortunately, he's not on my list, by the way, because like I said, I take expectations into it a little bit, and I don't have any more expectations for this guy. He's got a sweet gig right now where he goes out. There's no pressure because we kind of expect him to give up that home run, or that one or two hits. It's just something you expect. But there's only one guy in that bullpen that you would expect worse from, and that is Travis Wood.
Yep.
He's at the bottom of my list. He's at the bottom of the power rankings. And he's just awful. Like, I don't know what else to say. His ERA, 9.31. It is June. And this guy has had plenty of innings to pitch. And he's
had 19 and a third innings. Like, that's a pretty decent amount of innings to have a 9.31 ERA with, to indicate that you're struggling a lot.
And the only reason he doesn't have more is because they take him out.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder how many appearances he's had. I'm trying to look at the stats right now. Because I know he's been out there a lot. And I know earlier in the season he was out there more often. He's kind of like showing up less and less often. And that's because he's just not fixing it. You know, he's going to go out there and put two guys on and then give up that run. And when can you use him now? When you're down 8-0? Like, you don't want to put him when you're up. Even when they won 12-5 on a Saturday, you don't want to put him in there. He's scary.
Yeah. I mean, 12-5 maybe like a 7-run lead or more, I'd put him in.
Nope.
And then
Not
if
me.
I see, a few hits come here and there, a run or two, I'm yanking him. But, yeah, he's my worst player as well. I feel basically as uncomfortable with him as I did with Soria in the 8th inning last year. Which is bad because I've never felt more uncomfortable with a pitcher than that, which was Joakim Soria in the 8th last year, and how many times he blew saves, just holds and all that in the 8th inning. I guess you can't call them saves, but you know what I mean. The game would be tied, he'd blow it, or the Royals would be up by 1 and he'd blow it. Up by 2, he'd blow it. And with Wood, it just feels like it's that same feeling. You're pretty sure he's going to give up a few hits and maybe even a few runs every time he's in there. So that's so far looking like a really bad offseason signing for Dayton Moore.
Well, it's definitely, I think, in my opinion, it's way worse than the Soria situation. Because, the numbers are there. He's just, every time he goes up, he gives up a run. And, that reflects with a 9.31 ERA. The only difference, I think, between Soria last year and Wood this year is the expectations. We remember Soria from 2010 and how great he was, and we wanted that to happen again. And Ned Yost believed that would happen, so he would keep putting him out there, and most of the time he was okay, but he gave up too many runs and bad situations that Wood isn't facing right now because Ned Yost has it in his head that he's not going to be out there for those innings, And so I think that's probably the biggest difference is how Ned Yost really uses them and the expectations from the fans. When Soria went out there and blew it last year, I'd get frustrated. I'd get angry. Twitter would blow up with the hashtag Yosted. That would start trending in Kansas City. When Wood goes out there, everybody knows what's going to happen. But is there really any frustration? I know it's kind of upsetting because of the contract. You're signing him to replace your star relievers. And it's obviously hasn't been there. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's not as upsetting just because he hasn't blown eighth inning lead or tie over and over. So it's definitely more frustrating with Soria. It's crazy, though, to think the Royals, there was actually talks about Travis Wood maybe being a starter, starting off the year as a starter.
I remember
Can you imagine that? Like, how would that have gone?
He might still get a chance, honestly, with all these injuries happening.
He might, and you know what? Sometimes pitchers are just better in certain roles. Maybe, I mean, his career showed that he was a better reliever than starter, which is why at the beginning of this year when the Royals signed him, I wanted Wood to be in the bullpen because the numbers showed that he was better in the bullpen. Well, maybe this season it could be something different. So with all the injuries and the starting rotation, maybe he will get his chance at being a starter, and maybe it'll be flipped. Like, maybe he'll be better as a starter. I don't know.
Opposite of Wade Davis.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet.
It would be.
How ironic would that be if Travis Wood is the reason why we save our season?
He becomes like a Cy Young candidate
but
as a starter.
All seriousness, no. What do you think about Skoglund? I know he's had 2 starts since we last started our show.
Yeah, well, his first start.
Everybody was pumped about him after that first start.
He was. And, I was excited for him, but I wasn't. I feel like people kind of overrated it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I never got excited over it.
People acted like it was the greatest thing. It was just this amazing moment. It was a pretty good moment in your Major League debut. Like, that's a really good performance.
I've never heard of the guy, though, honestly, before this.
Honestly, I didn't either. I did some research, and I was kind of surprised because his ERA in the minors this season wasn't that good.
Why was he the one that was called up? That's my question. Because there's a buttload of guys you always hear about and never see. Mm-hmm. I guess Mike Minor being one of the guys, but you finally see him. And then this guy comes out of nowhere, does great. I was excited. It was fun to watch, but I didn't get too excited because, the last performance, he went out there and wet the bed. It was awful.
You kind of I kind of expected the second performance to not be as bad. The thing is with the second performance, it's like he had 2 outs in that inning with no runs allowed, and then all of a sudden just the hits started coming, and the Indians scored 4 runs with 2 outs, so that was really deflating. And then we had the rain delay, and that pretty much did it. The delay was too long.
He never got a chance to, kind of go out there and redeem himself. So I'll give him a little room there. He never got a chance to, bounce back, even though 4 runs in an inning is not pretty.
And as for why he got called up, I don't know. Maybe I'm sure they just felt like he was the most ready to come up and replace Duffy. So I don't know. I'm curious to see Skoglund's next start, see how he does. If he struggles, I'm sure a lot of people are going to want Duffy back as soon as possible. So we'll see. If this is not a playoff contending year, which I still don't really know if it is, I'm fine with letting Skoglund go out there, take a few bumps and bruises along the way. He's not going to go out there and pitch great every single time. Probably very rarely. He may not have a start like he did in his first start for the rest of the year. So we can't get our hopes up too much. I know everybody was, but you just got to kind of have a pretty reasonable expectation level with it.
Yeah, well, with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we get back, we're going to do the headlines of the week. Also, after that, Jeremy Macklin's been released from the Chiefs. Is that a smart move or a stupid move? We'll talk about that next on the Benchwarmers.
Hey, this is Sad. Listen to my Mega Music Hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 3 p.m. K-Roo Student Radio, UMKC, Kansas City. Hey, this is Sad. Listen to my Mega Music Hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 3 p.m. K-Roo Student Radio, UMKC, Kansas City. Hey, this is Sad. Listen to my Mega Music Hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 3 p.m. K-Roo Student Radio, UMKC, Kansas City.
I used to go to Swinney and watch heroes like Kirksey, Corver, Agent Zero. With Lee, Leathers, and O'Connor, the other team will be a goner. They play basketball at UMKC, all while earning a college degree. And number 33, my man Brad Reed, is the center on my starting team. Tune in for all your sports coverage on K-Roo.
Hey guys, this is Casey. Make sure you check in every Wednesday from 3 to 5 for my show, The Ox. I'll be playing tons of great new music, so you can hear it first on K-Roo.
Hey guys, this is Lindsay. Listen to The Lindsay Show Mondays 4 to 6 on K-Roo.
You know, K-Roo listeners, I love you, and I love rock and roll. And if you love rock and roll, listen to Archive 59 with me, Brian Will, from 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday nights, only on K-Roo.
Tune into K-Roo March 9th through the 12th for all of your Summit League tournament coverage.
It hurts my feelings when you don't listen. If you don't listen, I will hurt this puppy. Think about the puppies.
What's up? This your girl Aisha, aka DJ Retro from E&J Show. Tune in at 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I slap a little bit of this and that. You listen to K-Roo.
Heart Stars and Horseshoes, Clovers and K-Roo. You're listening to K-Roo, Student Radio.
I feel the need for K-Roo.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and listen to K-Roo every once in a while, you might miss it. You're listening to K-Roo, Student Radio.
Welcome back, Benchwarmers listeners. This is the Benchwarmers. I'm your host slash producer, Brad Ross, and Ian is here still. He didn't go anywhere during that commercial break.
I'm still here.
See, that's proof. He's still here.
Surprisingly.
All right, don't forget, to our listeners out there, 816-287-0090. That's 816-287-0090. That's the text line. If you got any questions, or you have any criticism, or you just want to say hi, Brad, hi, Ian, text that number, and we'll answer you.
We actually did get a text that says, "Hey guys, how are you?" We're doing pretty good.
Okay, so before we got on air today, I got a notification from this Tom Cruise fan page I'm a part of on Facebook, and it's a new trailer of his movie coming out. Not The Mummy. It's coming out this September. It's called American Made, and I got so excited. So I don't think this day can be ruined.
You're a huge Tom Cruise fan.
That was the best thing I've seen all week, and I'm more excited for this movie than The Mummy, just because it's not Tom Cruise doing an action movie. It's Tom Cruise playing a role. He had like a little kind of southern accent. I'm just excited.
Yeah.
So,
I know you're still thinking about it.
I'm still thinking about Tom Cruise, and now I'm kind of jumbled up in my brain.
You remember what's next?
Yep, it's the headlines of the week. All right, headlines of the week. We do it every week, usually at the same time every week, right after our commercial break. Basically, Ian and I look for some really exciting stories going on in the world of sports, and we discuss them briefly to get them out of the way. So number one, Albert Pujols made history on Saturday as he joined the 600 career home run club. He did it in fashion as it was a 9th inning grand slam. Ian, where does Pujols rank among your all-time greats?
I would say 13. So I did this mathematical formula where you just asked me just now, asked me that question, so I came up with it really quickly.
13th, really? I have him 9th.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I don't have an all-time list. I don't know why I asked you for yours. It's impressive. With after the steroid era, it's all confusing to me, so it's hard to not think about what he may or may not be doing. But at the same time, how could he get away with it? Because there's so many tests. Especially, like, you hear Aaron Judge. He hits a home run. He gets tested 3 times between his next home run. So it's just, I'm going to choose to believe that this guy has done it free of any kind of, performance enhancer, and good for him.
I'll give players the benefit of the doubt until it's proven. I just think with the whole steroids thing, I used to be so anti-steroid. I was like, these players that they use them, get them out of the game. Like, this is ridiculous. They're cheating. But it keeps happening. I just kind of wish that baseball would make steroids legal at this point. If they want to do that to their bodies,
hot take.
Good for them. Because I'm tired of this argument of, is this player legit because he used steroids? Or what about this player? He didn't use steroids. He's better than this guy. He used steroids. Like, it makes the whole argument about whether certain players belong in the Hall of Fame so complicated. I still don't like steroids, but just from that perspective, I just wish they'd legalize it.
No. Okay, so first of all, the Hall of Fame, that's just some mumbo-jumbo made-up stuff that fans created because they can't play the game. Like,
right.
I'm not going to let any of that affect the actual game itself. As far as my stance on the steroids, I think it's horrible, but I'm allowing it into the Hall of Fame. The reason being, I see the Hall of Fame as more of a museum. And if you're going to ignore the people who took steroids and you're ignoring a part of history, I'm not for that. But as for the game moving forward, baseball's been around for hundreds of years. It's going to go probably another 100. I would bet 400 years. That's a hot take. I would say that. Why not and try to improve the game from here on out? I'm not going to say take drugs, because then they're going to be mad scientists creating new kinds of drugs that make them hit it 700 yards. 700 yards. Even farther than feet. And I'm not okay with that. Just keep the drugs out of it. It's that easy.
Well, what are we going to do to these players that keep using the drugs then? Do we just need to lifetime ban them the first time they're caught?
Over time, I think the penalties should get a little more stricter. I think that would make sense. I think we're seeing that a little bit now.
It's not fair to the people who aren't cheating because they're just trying to follow the rules.
And I think because we're so close to that steroid era still, and we're slowly moving out of it, I think the penalties should become stricter. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it, though. Tiger Woods, he's in the news finally.
What's the deal with him?
I've been excited to talk Tiger Woods since I started this radio show.
Yeah. We like Tiger Woods. We think he's a pretty good golfer all time. Well, what happened with Tiger Woods?
Okay. Tiger Woods was arrested on suspicion of the DUI, but later was found out that he blew a 0.000 on the breathalyzer test. He claims that it was due to a mixture of prescribed medication. Do you think this affects his image? Do you think this says anything about his career going forward? What's your hot take?
One incident
really
just tarnished his image. He had such a great one before this, right?
When the news broke that the DUI came out, I wasn't that overreactive like the internet was acting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that has any look on how he's doing coming back from his back problems or anything. But that being said, after the medication came out, I started looking at it as a whole, as in, this guy's just not what he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks because I'm not a golf guy, and I never will be. The only time I was when I watched Tiger Woods, I think back in 2003 when I was little. I think I flipped on the TV to the free channel, and he was playing. I watched that a little bit. Other than that, not relevant to me.
Yeah, I kind of wish, on a serious note, that, I mean, this kind of incident, I know he's Tiger Woods, and so the media's going to talk about it. I just kind of feel like something like this would be kept a little more private by the media, not just throwing it out there for everybody to make fun of him again, because he really, I mean, he wasn't drunk. He blew a 0.000. That's 4 zeros. So, I mean, that's a lot of zeros. I mean, I don't know why we need 3 zeros after the decimal. I guess is how they measure it. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wish the media wouldn't, make such a big deal about this.
At the same time, though, you think he would be smarter if he's taking medication, despite what it might do or the consequences? Maybe he should just call a friend and say, hey, give me a ride.
Yeah. Maybe he just didn't think at first it would just have that kind of effect on him.
The next thing that we like more than Tiger Woods, the NBA. Last night, the Golden State Warriors took a 2-0 lead over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Do you think the Warriors are going to win it in 4?
No.
Really?
I think the Cavaliers. Look, I had a hot take, and we didn't have the show last Monday.
It was very hot.
We didn't get to talk about it. But I called the Cavaliers winning in 7, which didn't make any sense just because I know how stacked the Warriors are, and I've been complaining about it every time that we've talked about the NBA on the show. But for some reason, I just felt like LeBron was going to get the calls from the refs, and he was going to will this team to win it in 7 games. And if the Cavaliers lost the first 2 games of this series in close games, then I still would have stuck with that. But at this point, I think I've still got to I've got to go back to my prediction with the Warriors winning it all, because they've looked dominant in the first 2 games, overpowered, and it's not fun. It's not fun to watch, and this is what it's going to be like for several years. It seems like the Warriors just controlling the entire league.
The only people I will not get mad at for celebrating the Warriors are the people living in that city.
The lifelong fans of the Warriors.
What's the city again? It's not Golden State.
It's in Oakland.
Oakland, okay.
But they represent like the whole Bay Area, so
kind of like
Oakland
the
and
New
San
England
Francisco.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so those people who have been there, I remember when I used to be a Lakers fan. I'm not anymore. I retired since Kobe retired. But when Kobe was dominating that division, I remember seeing the Golden State Warriors at the bottom with 20 wins and thinking, that must suck. That must stink. And they did that for a long time. So they're a great team now. I don't blame them for getting excited. I was watching Game 2, and all the fans in the stands were going crazy, waving their free shirts and pump up. And that I can understand. But anybody else, any other bandwagoner, that's like rooting for the...
Makes me sick.
It's like rooting for the Western Conference All-Stars against LeBron James and the Eastern Conference All-Stars, I guess.
Yeah.
Because LeBron's not to blame. He's to blame, too, because he's done the same thing. The only thing is that he did it first, and now the Warriors are doing it back, but even stronger, so...
It's awful. The NBA is awful right now.
Yeah, it is. So the last bit of news, the Penguins, this is NHL, per
Hockey.
Ian's request.
Yeah.
The
Right.
Penguins have a 2-1 lead over the Nashville Predators in the Stanley Cup Finals. Ian, who do you have taking the MVP award? Finals MVP award.
Well, there's 2 players that I know. No, actually 3. I know Sidney Crosby of the Penguins. I know PK Subban. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, of the Predators.
Are you reading this, or do you really know?
No, no. Look at my laptop. I don't have it I don't have it pulled up.
Wow.
And PK Rene, I want to say that's his name. No, PK Subban. It's something Rene. He's the goaltender of the Predators. He's supposedly a really good goaltender.
He's overrated, honestly.
But-
I'd rather have Krabisky in there from the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah. There's a lot of Blues fans in this area, by the way. At least the ones that anybody that follows hockey around here seems to be a Blues fan. Well, come on, that's St. Louis. You can't root for the Blues just because they're the closest team geographically.
If Kansas City gets a hockey team, I will support it 100%. I will get into hockey. That's the thing, though. That's the thing, though. I've never tried to get into it, so I know nothing about it. But
I've tried. It's not exciting without a Kansas City team.
There's no relevant. But anyways, my hot take: Nashville Predators come back to win it, and Philip Forsberg, who is the guy I've talked about for months.
Forsberg?
Yeah.
Is that an actual player? Did you just pull that out?
No, he's number 9 for the Nashville Predators. He's got 15 goals on the season, leading the team. Honestly, his defense is phenomenal. So,
okay.
Yeah, Nashville Predators in the Central Division.
Philip Forsberg.
Yeah.
Central Division?
Yep. Central Division.
Okay, what relevance does that have to the Stanley Cup Finals?
Well, honestly, when you look at the total splits, you see Philip Forsberg at the top of the list.
Right.
I mean, do I need to say more? His plus-minus is 16. That's the highest of any other player on the team.
He's from Sweden.
Yeah, and?
I'm just saying.
All right. Well, that was our headlines of the week. That is brought to you by K-Roo koozies. Text the text line and we'll give you a koozie because we got them. We got boxes of them.
Speaking of the text line, we'll respond to a text here really quickly because we have a text. This is going back to the Tiger Woods thing. This text says, I like it because it shines more light on the problem in America with prescription addiction, which that's a good point. I understand that, and I can totally understand. It's good to have awareness for things like that because it is an actual problem that people have, and it needs to be brought to, people's attention. I just feel like in this case, I feel like it's not really doing that. I feel like people are more just kind of making fun of him because Tiger Woods is an easy target. He's been an easy target. That's just where I'm coming from.
Part of that's probably the media's fault because the media's like, oh my goodness, this guy was driving drunk. His career is over. Nobody's going to respect him. We find out, he wasn't drunk. Oh, okay. Well, then he's still done. He's still not good, but at least it was okay. Well, maybe it's not okay, and maybe he does have some kind of addiction that we don't know about. I know he's had surgery after surgery on his back, and he's, I think, recovering from something, and the medication's probably for that. So I don't think he's addicted to it, but the way he was handling it, mixing it up, maybe he should know beforehand what he's doing. Maybe there is a problem there, and if not, there's probably problems all over this country with people who actually are addicted. And so, yeah, maybe there is some good to come out of this Tiger Woods story. Unfortunately, I don't think the media is doing a very good job of it. The only thing you see on the Twitter timeline is his mugshot and everybody making fun of his hairline. And
yeah, my thoughts exactly. So, yeah, I think it's good to bring awareness to things like that, and hopefully that is bringing awareness to some people out there.
Yeah. So with that, it's time to start our new segment. It's called Jeremy Macklin is Gone.
Oh, I like how you say it's our new segment. Jeremy Macklin is gone, as if it's segment like we're gonna do it every week.
Yeah,
Talk about Jeremy Macklin's gone.
So this isn't a weekly segment. This is just when the Chiefs sign a great player and he has a down year, and then they decide to cut him without warning and treat him like a piece of meat. And this is why the NFL is business. This is so whenever that happens with Jeremy Macklin, we'll start this segment up.
Exactly. We'll just call it the Jeremy Macklin segment.
Right. So those who don't know at home, listening to us, me and Ian and I, the Benchwarmers, Jeremy Macklin was a wide receiver for the Chiefs. Notice how I said was. He was a wide receiver for the team. Great player. Huge pickup when he first signed on with the team. Had a great first year, over 1,000 yards, which is something you don't see in Kansas City from a wide receiver.
And 87 catches, too.
Last year, he was out for 4 games. He wasn't quite himself when he did play. I think he only ended up almost half of what he had the previous year. Down year. And I know that a lot of people think, well, they were still winning without him. But the thing is, Alex Smith is not the quarterback that utilizes him well enough. But having said that, what does he have now to throw to that isn't Jeremy Maclin, besides Travis Kelce? I think this idea about saving money, yeah, the idea is great, but you don't want to save money by cutting great players or even good players. It's a horrible idea. I hated it. I hate the news. He's one of my favorite guys, especially in Madden 18. He's one of the guys that my quarterback throws to, besides Travis Kelce. They split the catches.
Yeah.
And it's a huge loss.
Yeah, I don't like it just from the standpoint, first of all, they didn't even try to renegotiate with him at all. And as far as OTAs go, he skipped his honeymoon to go to OTAs, something that's voluntary. And he went there, he decided to participate in that. And my thought is maybe they saw something in OTAs they didn't like. Maybe they thought he was really slowing down. Maybe they thought he was washed up, whatever. And they decided to save some room in the cap and cut him. And I guess after June 1st, they were able to save $10 million in the cap. So that's why they waited until then to make the cut.
Which is a big chunk. But.
Yeah, it's a lot. I understand it. I guess I can't say I hate the move. I'm going to try to trust that John Dorsey and Andy Reid know what they're doing. But, I mean, Macklin's not really that old. He's 29. So I just don't really buy the idea that he's really slowed down unless that injury really did something to him. I don't like the situation at all. Maybe the move will end up being a good move because Maclin will go to another team and he'll prove that he's really slowed it down. But I really don't like this situation in general because Maclin was supposed to be the number one receiver, and now he's gone. And you're right. There's nobody for Alex Smith to throw to except for Travis Kelce. But, I mean, if you're going to argue that Tyreek Hill could make a great number one receiver, no, we don't know that for sure. First of all, he's not a polished wide receiver. He's not a great route runner. He's not great at playing the position. He's just great at running down the field really fast.
He was an amazing alternative option.
Yeah,
that could potentially become something better.
He's just a playmaker, and yeah, if he's going to step in and be a wide receiver, he needs to be taught how to really play the position first. But after that, Chris Conley, I mean, come on. Like, Conley has proven so far that he can maybe be an average receiver. He's nowhere near number one receiver material. In order for him to actually take that role this upcoming season, he's going to have to make a huge jump. And then after that, you have Albert Wilson, who really is not that good. He honestly isn't even that good of a third or fourth receiver, so I don't know how he can be a second receiver. You have Demarcus Robinson, who hasn't proven a thing. I mean, you don't have a lot of options at this point. Maybe Dorsey's planning on signing somebody for cheap, such as Anquan Bolden. He's available. But if you want to argue that Jeremy Macklin's washed up, then what is Anquan Bolden? I mean, he's even way more than that. So I don't know. I don't like the situation at all because now Alex Smith, he has almost nobody to throw to. I feel like this is kind of Dorsey maybe putting faith in the running game and Kareem Hunt. And maybe Kareem Hunt and Spencer Ware can make a good 1-2 combo, but it's hard to have a really good running game in today's NFL. It's kind of turned into a passing league, and for some reason teams struggle to get the running game going.
So I said this after the draft. The person I'm most excited for this upcoming year is Kareem Hunt. I've seen his highlights. There's a lot of potential there, and they're already saying in OTAs that he's been impressive. But back to what you said about John Dorsey, Andy Reid. You said that you still trust them. This move makes me trust them less. And the reason I say that is because if they were going to cut Jeremy Maclin after one season, or one full season and then a season filled with injury, then what was the point of signing him in the first place? Why even bring him here? Were those 2 years the windows of opportunity to win a Super Bowl? Was it not the rest of Alex Smith's contract? That confuses me, and that makes me think that they're not thinking that well at least long term, or maybe they're thinking season by season, and that's not very good. That's not a good move, and I don't like it.
Something I think that has been a really weak point for John Dorsey ever since he's come to Kansas City is the way he negotiates contracts and the contracts he gives players. Jeremy Maclin, obviously, he got paid way too much because Dorsey didn't want to keep him around for the money after, like you said, one injury-filled year. Macklin's first year in Kansas City was great. 87 catches at over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's a great year. Like, he earned his money. And then he got hurt last year, and now he's gone. Bad contract if you weren't willing to, like you said, commit to him long term. Justin Houston getting paid a lot of money to sit on the bench. Like, he's been injured. He was injured half of 2015, half of last year. Granted, it was the same injury, but still, a lot of money sitting on the bench. Jamal Charles wasted a lot of money. Alex Smith, in my opinion, is overpaid. So there's a lot of money.
That extension they gave him, I remember at the time I was thinking, well, that's like the average for now, for quarterbacks now. But you know what? He's not really that average. Sorry. He is that average. He's exactly average. And you don't want to pay him the average salary because, I mean, that's inflated by the guys doing really well and the guys doing really poor. That's not really a true pay. But it's really upsetting. It shows how heartless the NFL is and how much of a business it is when it comes to treating players. Because, like you said, he skipped his honeymoon to go to voluntary practice, which a lot of the big name players on the team didn't even go to. Do you think he would still be on the team if he decided to skip it?
You know, that's an interesting point because what if they cut him based on how he looked in OTAs? What if he just skipped that? He'd still be on the team?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd say probably still. It's probably mainly because of the money thing that he was still on the team.
Post-June first cut, yeah.
But you think they would have told him, like at least so he can go on his honeymoon.
I know. And don't forget, Andy Reid also went to his wedding just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Do you think Andy Reid was in on it? Because that was some talk, too, that maybe he doesn't know.
Possibly. I feel like with Andy Reid, though, he's the type of head coach. He's been around long enough where any general manager he works with is going to consult with him. And I feel like Reid and Dorsey work together. I really do with the player moves they make.
It's just sad, and that's, I guess, the difference between baseball and football. I mean, baseball, you see this team, this organization really become a family, and that's not even an exaggeration. These guys are really close, and you can see that. They can do that. They can give out the money. But in the NFL, that's
all about winning.
It's unrealistic. It's not a thing that will happen, and that's a shame. You know who Jeremy Maclin reminds me of?
Who?
He's kind of like the Philip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators. You know why?
Why?
Because he's overlooked. People just don't take him into consideration.
I agree. Did Forsberg also get cut after an injury-filled year? And
all I know about him is that he's going to score 3 goals tonight because they play tonight, right?
Sure. Let's go with that. I don't know.
They play today at 7 on NBC, so make sure you watch that. Our show is ending for today, but Ian and I, we got a bet going on. We have a nice chair in the studio, and we're trying to figure out who's going to get the chair. So Ian came up with this idea, I think, maybe. I don't know.
I think so.
We got some pool tables downstairs in the first floor of this building. We're going to play a game of pool, and the winner of that pool will get the chair. And if you want to watch that game, we'll have it on Facebook Live on our Benchwarmers Facebook page. Look up the Benchwarmers on K-Roo Radio on Facebook. You'll find us, and you can watch it live there. We'll be on at about 1:15.
Yep.
So
stay tuned, folks.
Thanks for listening to our show. Thank you for our mini texters for texting in, and have a great day. And look up the Tom Cruise trailer because it looks awesome. American Made. In theaters September 29th.